I've never played the Tron arcade game. Am I missing anything?
Ooh, yes. I mean, maybe it's a series of mini games.
Opinions vary widely, is what I would say. It's definitely valued by collectors.
If you could
I mean,
compare it to something, what would you compare it to?
WarioWare. It's a
Really?
series of 4 mini games
That's interesting.
that scale in difficulty. Now, scale a lot in difficulty. Like a lot.
I was never a fan of it. Candidly speaking, I just, it didn't speak to me. And some games are like that, right? It doesn't matter what you're talking about. I certainly wouldn't bash it. I mean, there's people out there that love it, and I guess I just never was that person. To me, I didn't watch the movie either.
Really?
Yeah, never seen it.
Wow. Do you remember when
Yeah,
it
I
came
mean,
out?
uh,
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
the arcade or the movie?
Both. Yeah, they coincided. The first movie release with the arcade. It was meant to be a promo, right? The Disney tie-in and everything. And so released July 9th, 1982. I was a few days away from my 11th birthday. So yeah, was it around when I was probably the age I should have been into it? I mean, there's a whole lot of things. Like I said, I've never seen the Star Trek movies. So it falls into that category of, I don't know, man. I guess I'm weird. I guess I was always a hard sell. I didn't just latch on to something because it was advertised to me, and I certainly still don't. I think it's weird. I'm also the kid at the age of 7 or 8 that was reading about bonds, and at the time bonds were paying out quite a hefty percentage. I guess I always just saw it as it was a bit over marketed to me, and I think that's that will repel you sometimes, and I think it repels me perhaps more than others. I might just be the
Especially Disney
outcast
movies.
weirdo in this.
Disney movies tend to
Yeah,
be
I
over
mean, if
marketed.
yeah, and you didn't have a lot of other options at that time. It wasn't like you had all the different streaming mediums we have now, so it was just in your face all the time. Um, and you may or may not know the history of it, Brendan. I don't know how close you are to the game, but the
Close.
subsequent release discs of Tron was really originally supposed to be a game that was part of the original Tron release, but they couldn't make it happen in time. So you have this discs of Tron that was released afterwards. Then you have the environmental disc of Tron, which is the cabinet version of that you set in, that people just fall apart over. I mean, a one that's in complete good working condition, um, 2 3 years ago would probably go for $10,000, and today you might get $12,000 to $15,000 for it. And it is just one of those games where it falls into that category of collectible for its rarity only. If you were to analyze it in terms of kind of that statement I just made, which is a true statement, it's not an assessment one way or another. It's just that they couldn't finish this element in time. Kind of like, really, you're paying 3 or 4 times more for the single component of that they couldn't release on the first one. It's just I don't know. I analyze things too much apparently.
Yeah, it would have been the 5th mini game in Tron
Yeah.
1, but instead it got its own standalone game. It's they're all playable. James Chen, the fighting game commentator, is actually very good at Discs of Tron. We definitely
Is
had.
it
Go ahead.
Discs of is that a okay? So is Tron like single player? Do you play with against other people?
It's only
To,
multiplayer.
you against the computer.
Yeah, you can play
Okay,
multiplayer, but it's that old style where it's not simultaneous. It's you play
okay, I
until you
got
die and
you.
someone else takes over.
Yeah,
Which isn't.
yeah.
I don't find that terribly compelling.
I guess I just don't get it. As a great man once said, I that's yeah. I that never. I have a hard time with those games too, just because and that's funny because that's all you do in pinball. Really, is you're never actually playing against somebody else. You're just putting up scores, and whoever has the best score. But yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time staying engaged with games like that. But I mean, shoot, we're about to talk about Tron for an hour, so I might as well fire it up next time I'm at a free play. Which one has Tron, by the way? Do you know right now?
All of them, pretty much.
I think all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it'd be easy
Discs
to
of
find.
Tron is at Free Play Arlington.
Gotcha.
And I got to be honest with you, that's not my qualifier. I actually would prefer to play against a machine. That's not the qualifier for me at all.
I think you meant side by side or alternating multiplayer.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I let's see there's 4 mini games in Tron. The
tanks, the spiders, the cone.
Yeah, the cone, you have to like have a
Oh.
turbo trigger finger at a certain point.
And it reverses direction.
Yeah, spiders are I don't know, that's the most gamey feeling one there is for me. The tanks are very reminiscent of the game Combat on Atari 2600.
And then the light cycles.
And the light cycles, I feel like they're most everybody's favorites. Like that's the one that's remembered fondly. I'm not sure if it's because of the sequence in the movie or the gameplay itself. The way the sound design works in the light cycle level is superb, actually. That's probably the highlight of the game is the sound when you fire up the light cycles.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yep, that's true.
And it works like a competitive version of the game Snake, I think it is.
That makes sense. I have played that. I guess if we're gonna call that the one of the mini games, I've definitely played that. I think I had that on like my phone, some like goofy version or something.
Right.
Yes, that's how I would describe it. It's competitive Snake. It's pretty clever, actually.
Yes. Yeah. There is no multiplayer version of that. Like it's just you against the computer, and they
Right.
spawn extra computer cyclists at the end. And in the end, all of those levels end up being pattern based. So you memorize a few patterns that you
Yeah.
go through, and then all the light cycles just sort of smash into each other, and you win and go into the next stage. So it's not a dynamic game by any means. It's got excellent sound design. It as Palmer was saying, there's black lights. It's got a cool look to it.
You have a joystick, like a big like stand up like joystick looking thing.
Blue translucent
Yeah.
joystick
Mm-hmm.
with
Now I'm
a spinner on the left hand side.
Yeah.
Now I'm
It's got
picturing.
unique
what it looks
controls.
like. Yeah, it
It's
does
got
catch
unique
my
controls.
eye. I've never stood there and played it, but it does catch my eye.
Discs
when
of
I walk
Tron
by
has
it.
an even weirder version of that. It's got the same control, except for the spinner on the left side actually rotate or lifts up and down as if you're pulling it out of the machine. And that has no functionality until you get to like stage 3, which I would guess 95% of people who play that game, if not more, will never get to stage 3 and never understand the functionality of it. So it's a frequent complaint of Free Play Arlington is that your Discs of Tron is broken. And yeah, Palmer says he's in a 97%. Yeah, so
it's that hard that getting to stage 3, which I guess how is that hard? I mean,
it's past the quotient of getting bored with the game to learn to beat it. It's like beating the Dr. J score on Defender, I would say.
Okay.
Which is not. I wouldn't describe that as a Herculean feat. In fact, I would say it would be trivial, like absolutely trivial to someone like Austin. And yet, I might do it one time if I played the game all day. Now, the second day I would do it.
It's an endurance test, I guess.
No, it's just the scaling level of difficulty, and you lose all your lives before you learn what it wants you to do, and it's not really clear what it wants you to do. And again, in Discs of Tron, like you don't even have access to all the controls until level 3 or whenever it is. I might be wrong about the exact level, but yeah, it's.
Well, now I'm curious. What is this Dr. J Defender thing? Not to get too sidetracked, but
No, Dr. J Defender is the default high score, and it's 21,000, I think 725 points or something like that. And it's the nickname that was given to the chief programmer, Eugene Jarvis. And the reason why he got the name Dr. Jarvis is because he was the only person who could program anything other than basic blurps and stuff into pinball machines at the time. So he started out in pinball first at Atari, worked on the Atarians, and when they saw the things that he could do, they called him, "Oh man, you're the doctor, Dr. J." So that was Dr. Jarvis.
And it's just like a ridiculous high score, basically.
No, it's actually not. So 21,000. If you're not familiar with Defender, it's very much the picture that Chris painted it. 21,000 on Defender is a Herculean effort if you're not familiar with Defender, because playing Defender on the control setup is the biggest problem for most people. It's like playing a piano. It really is, the control layout. And so to equate that and that difficulty to the same difficulty of getting to the point where you can use all of the controls on discs of Tron, I think it's a good parallel.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
It's if I would guess, David, can you beat the Dr. J score on Defender by chance?
Hold on. I just got on. I don't know. I got to figure this out.
I would guess for $100, everybody here like playing the next hour of Defender would not be able to beat the Dr. J score. And I think every single game, like if you had Austin get to the Dr. J score and then quit, he could beat it every single playthrough for an entire hour. Just speed run to it over and over and over again.
Is Defender that patterny, or is it just a matter of once you get it, or?
That's the thing. Defender's not patterned at all, and that's why I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's known to be, by most people, it's known to be an incredibly difficult game just to play, master. So if you get to the point of mastery on that game, you really feel like you've accomplished something. It's one of the few games that from that era that is truly not a pattern game, that is completely randomized after startup. It goes to a randomization startup sequence. And it actually has some flaws built into it, some which were hardware limitations, others which were programming designs at the time, because you got to realize it was made in 1980. So some of the things they were just learning. I mean, this was literally in the first few games that had all the capabilities this one had. And if you look at what they did with the hardware, not to go too deep into it, but I can pontificate on Defender for a long time, needless to say. But the point is, it is an incredibly steep curve just to play. Even to play to the point of 10,000 points, which is your first free ship on default settings, is a challenge for most people. You could probably sit up there at the bar, just up behind Defender, at any given location, watch 20 people walk up to it, and probably 19 of them would never even get 10,000 points.
Mm-hmm. The control scheme is interesting. It's like, I assume you've seen Star Wars, like the original Star Wars, and if you see like them operating the Death Star and they make it fire, and there's lots of buttons and gizmos kind of everywhere, but they don't seem to make sense. That's basically the it's all buttons, but that's the layout of Defender. It's spread completely across the console. Right, or is there a joystick at all? There may be a joystick.
There's a two-way joystick. Two-way joystick is up-down movement. Joystick is coupled with your thumb to activate thrust. Then your right hand goes on, or I'm sorry, your reverse is your left thumb. Then your right hand goes on. Your index finger goes to thrust. Your middle finger goes to fire, and then your right thumb goes to smart bomb. And then when you want to activate hyperspace, which is, yes, there's another button, you hit hyperspace by raising your right hand and raking it across the center. The second release of this game actually added an additional button called Inviso, which creates an invisible, shield you can use. And that also is activated from the right hand, and you would flick it on and off very quickly. And that's the reason why most people didn't really master it well, is because it is an all-time engaging two-hand operated game whereby you are constantly engaging a joystick and a button with your left, two buttons at a minimum with your right, and then occasionally hitting a third and fourth with your right. And so some people just don't, I think, get that sequence. And you're right, it doesn't make sense initially until you go through to the point that you are working at second nature, and then I didn't even realize, I didn't think about it because this is a game I mastered as a kid. I had someone watching me play it, and they said it looks like you're playing the piano. So I mean that's probably accurate.
Yeah, because your hands go up and down the console as there are buttons just laid out across it everywhere, it seems.
And one of the other things that's essential, especially this is probably true in Austin's time when he was a younger lad playing it, you need to have someone that you could yell and say, "Hey, get the cigarette out of my mouth."
It's still that way in Japan.
Yeah, grab my cigarette.
Although I didn't see
Yeah.
Defender in Japan. I wonder if
the versions that were overseas, most of them were the green ROM. It's ROM sets. Red was the majority of the ones that were released in the U.S. That's actually an easier version. Green ROM was mostly Europe and Asia, and that is actually a much more difficult, and it's also a much more unstable version. And so they depending on which one you are familiar with, so they did have a lot. So Defender was one of the first machines, actually the first machine, I think, to break $1 billion in revenue. And that may seem trivial by today's standards, but again, you got to realize these are games that are being sold where you're getting that $1 billion in revenue a quarter at a time.
Did you say
and you're getting
$1 billion with a B?
$1 billion with a B in
that
revenue.
Does not seem trivial in 1980.
Right? Yeah.
If you'd say $1 million, then that sounds.
There were locations that it was in such demand. The highest number I ever heard of was something like 11 in a single location. But you would go to that was, and Corey's talked about this a lot on some of his discussions previously on YouTube. But it was at a time when you would go through a game and it was kind of the concept of, well, I'll just buy another game, as an operator to get whatever's hot. Defender was so hot, they would 9, 10, 11 of them at a location. And then the concept of, well, now I need to convert this to something else, right? So they started coming out with conversion kits so that you could actually put different games in that same exact machine.
Yeah, that's all the way
where
right?
Cloak and Dagger would fit directly into it. There's a Cloak and Dagger kit that fits directly into Defender. Even reuses the power supply from the original Defender, even though it was written by Atari. Yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff you can get into when you talk about that. But yeah, the point is, it was in that era, right, when it made sense, and then operators would convert them. Black Tiger was a popular conversion. I think Corey has at least 3 machines that are Defenders that have been converted into Black Tiger. Now, I can just go look at the profile of the cabinets and come away with that, because I kind of specialize in Williams, if you can't tell. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
I did just double check that, by the way. Yes, it is one of the highest grossing video games ever, earning over US $1 billion. That is insane.
That is absolutely nuts for that in 1980.
I couldn't imagine.
It's stunning. That's. I mean,
how
is there any movie that reaches that from the era? Maybe Star Wars.
Maybe.
Well, and that's the reason why you see Eugene Jarvis is so highly thought of. Mm-hmm. He literally programmed this game. What is to by today's standards? I mean, your phone in your pocket has I'd have to do the math right quick. The phone in your pocket has something on the order of 196,000 times the amount of memory that Defender has. It has something on Defender doesn't even have the concept of storage, so let's not even talk about that. Mm-hmm. And then when you talk about compute, I mean, it's 8 orders of magnitude. Your phone's 8 orders of magnitude higher in terms of processing capacity than Defender is. And he did everything that he did on this game with a system that could only produce 1 sound at a time, and he only uses 28 unique sounds. And there's all kinds of little cool stuff, like, the sounds that he did use, or you're only hearing a snippet of the waveform. The waveform itself continues on. So you can actually go in and manually hit the controls which I've done on a bench before. And these sounds just go on forever. It's pretty cool. But anyways.
I wonder when
that's-
he
Yeah, I appreciate it for what they were able to do with that.
Austin,
You know, he still does design work on some things, but really some of his last work was on Narc and what was the other game?
TV as well. Smash TV.
He did Smash TV. I think Narc was released later. I might be wrong, but I think Narc was maybe one of his last. And you know, you go back into the design on these, and I know not everyone's an engineer, so you don't necessarily geek out on this, but some of the early things that he was doing at Defender, or I'm sorry, at Williams, were precursors to direct memory access, so that he could do things in memory rather than engaging the processor, because the processors were so slow they couldn't keep up at the time. I mean, it's a non-trivial discussion when you think of all the things that were going on with the limitations of what they had. It's really sweet.
Yeah, his lineage will be forever on arcade style games for sure. I don't. As long as games, you know, start up, if they're the type of game that starts up and you jump right into the gameplay and then the game ends whenever you lose your men, like, he will always have an influence over that style of gaming. Austin,
Yeah,
did you
for
code
sure.
as at that time, like in the early '80s? Were you into coding at all?
That was one of the reasons why Defender, I think, appealed to me so much, because so it came out when I was 9 years old, and I had taught myself BASIC, the TI-99 4A at the time. So BASIC on the TI-99 4A was my first programming language.
Okay.
When it came out, and so it did coincide with my understanding of how to program in anything whatsoever. And then I did, at a later point in time, when I was in high school, so I was like 16, I worked at a couple of, at the time, long distance, you know, paid for long distance, so 1+ carriers. I did things like automated operator call stations, which doesn't sound like much, except when you figure that I was doing it on a 386 hardware platform, creating RAM drives so that you could actually have a single PC basically operate and control up to 16 calls simultaneously by loading everything into memory. And so I started doing programming in data bus and C. I don't really do programming. I don't do programming for a living. It was actually something cool at the time, just because, I don't know, I guess I was self-taught, and I was a kid in high school doing it, maybe, and it was earning me money. So it was fun.
The reason I ask is to bring it back to Tron, like, and Tron the movie, like, maybe some of the because there's a lot of coding that's happening in the real world scenes in Tron, but it's not exactly accurate. So
right, nothing ever is in movies, and that's the other letdown for me. It's like watching a movie like Firewall. But yeah, Tron is definitely, you're right. It's protagonist is trapped inside of the computer, in essence, right?
Yes, but even like the coding they do do some sort of like hybrid basic DOS with command prompts and stuff. The only thing,
the game levels are tied.
What's that?
I was saying the game levels. If you Tron the video game, the different levels are COBOL. They're COBOL, they're BASIC, they're Fortran. So they're actually different computer language.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I was more talking about, like, in the film, like the coding that you see in the film as they're typing in commands and stuff. Yeah.
They did a good tie together, I thought, from that, though, just to play off of that. So the coding in the film, but also the way that they build the levels in the game, they actually pull that in. So the coding that you see in the film, and then the fact that they actually name the different levels within the game after computer languages. So yeah, it's a nice tie-in. They definitely did some good things to bring that forward.
The marquee is excellent as well. There's references to the movie, including the programmer who made it.
The marquee is beautiful. The design around the joystick and the way they illuminate the joystick is actually really cool. I mean, it's very kind of movie-esque, if you will, for the 80s. You know, that translucent blue joystick. I don't know if you recall, but down around the control panel itself, it's illuminated, and it's basically just nothing more than like a plexiglass piece, but they print directly onto it. And trust me, it's low tech by today's standards, but it still looks gorgeous. I mean, if you see one that's not scratched and everything, it's a beautiful looking machine.
Yes, I agree. Well, let me just we're like half an hour in, but let me say this is Pinballers, and Brennan and Shannon and David and Austin. Shannon was there very briefly, but you know, three of us are here. Wanted to turn it over to Brennan and Austin and David. We're talking Tron Legacy Pinball today.
Yeah, and so I mean specifically, since this is the free play tie-in here, and also the tie-in to the monthly thing we have going that David organized, we're talking the LE version, which normally, I mean frankly, the differences in terms of gameplay between the Pro and the LE seem to be pretty limited. But there's a pretty massive difference in price. That's what I don't know. I mean, I'd have to really think about it because they do have some really nice games in the free play collection. But this has got to be one of the most expensive games that free play owns, as far as I know. Because I mean, these go now for like, $10,000 or so, give or take. Especially the one that's at
Easily.
Arlington. It's in really nice shape. And I got to be real, I'm hoping somebody else knows the story behind that because I don't really get it. Because even brand new limited edition games that are coming out now um, aren't going for that much. So I'm not super positive why why the price is so inflated on this, especially because the gameplay itself doesn't seem to change that much from the Pro. I guess the back glasses gets really cool on the LE. It's got kind of like this corrugated is the wrong word, but it's almost like a 3D look to it. The ramps are lit up, stuff like that. But I don't know. Anybody have thoughts on Tron? I will let y'all go first because I'm not overflowing with opinions about it, but it is Tron's birthday and it's in the monthly thing, so figure we talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful game. I do think the price for Tron, the pinball machine, is impacted similarly like the arcade is, meaning that the arcade is actually quite expensive. So arcades from that era could easily go for under $1,000 depending on rarity or collectability. And if you find a Tron that's in good shape arcade wise, you'd be lucky to get one for less than $3,000, probably more than that today, which doesn't sound like much, but that's probably 3 times the going rate of a Defender, just to compare it. And so I think the Tron pinball machine is kind of the same. There's something that just harkens back, right, to the child that grew up at that point in time, that loves the movie, that loves all of those things that Chris was talking about. And I think the tie-ins there are the reason for it. So if you go to the play field itself, the cool thing about the LE, and I'll tie this into the arcade, and you probably know this, but just for those who are listening and may not be aware, it does have a fully functional version of the Tron arcade on it. Yeah. And it's just above that scoop in the lower right-hand corner coming out of that right sling. And it actually is the entrance point into Flynn's Arcade, which is the theme that's carried throughout the game. That's the place where they go to play. And you've got a Flynn's Arcade sign up over that right. It's really kind of the Flynn's Arcade, if I remember correctly, it's kind of in that right in lane that feeds to the right flipper and then kind of extends to the right out lane just a little bit. Yeah. Over towards the a few inches above that right sling.
That's the skill shot.
You look at it. Yeah, it is. It's one of the skill shots.
The main one. I guess.
I think there's so many things that are unique on it, right? And then you look at that. They have. I think this is probably the only. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm struggling thinking about it here. This might be the only machine that has the ramps. They're outlined in that neon effect that they have on it. I think that's just so cool.
That is one of the things that stood out to me when I first played it. Was it's lit up like a Christmas tree. It's got the theme integration is really cool. I mean, if you covered up that's kind of my test, is if you cover up the back glass in the artwork, would you be able to tell what game
Oh,
this is?
instantly.
And you would instantly know what you're playing. So they did a good job there. Again, I haven't seen the movie, the original, or the Disney remake, whenever that was, 10 years ago or whatever. So I'm not working with a huge, breadth of knowledge in terms of Tron, but yeah, I mean that sticks out to me. I don't know. I appreciate the simplicity of the layout too. I like how they don't trick it up too much. The spinning disc is pretty cool, and it kills me every time because I can't help myself but going for it. Um, the little arcade thing's cool. Apparently, there's pretty cool mods for the Flynn's arcade little target thing where they actually like put a little screen and have somebody playing Tron on it or whatever.
Yeah, no, the
Um,
Tron in our version actually works. It's got a little
okay, I
emulator
guess
in
it's not
there.
a mod. Okay, that's ridiculous. I don't know why anybody needs that, but it's super cool. And if you're into that, then that would probably blow your mind. Truth be told, I probably just haven't spent enough time playing it. Mostly because my games tend to last, 90 seconds on this game. It's not a super complicated game, but I also don't think it's an easy game. The ramps for me, for whatever reason, are pretty hard to hit. They're not sort of your traditional like stern layout necessarily. They're at kind of an angle that makes it require a little bit more thought than like a medieval madness, attack from Mars, that type of thing. Um, I mean, this game's well thought of, according to Pinside, which is very expert rankings, as we know. It's number 19 in the top 100, so I mean, it's a well-liked game. Um, I'm just not super familiar with the rule set. I kind of just flip around and try to make multi-balls happen, but that's how I play a lot of games, so no surprises there.
What do you think about this game, David?
I like it.
Hmm.
I like the one at free play. The shots, as Brennan indicated, are not as easy as a Medieval Madness or Attack from Mars. So
Hmm.
that is one of the reasons why I like playing it.
Well, the left
You know,
ramp
it's
is way up at the top of the table.
Yeah,
Like we got it on screen here, and
you got to nail it.
yeah, it's way up there. Let's see there. But yeah, it's
and
definitely different there.
there's that whole you shoot for to light the disc or try to get the disc multi-ball, and you're going to drain by doing that. But it's a risk reward. Sometimes you just want to go for it.
I really really like this table. The only comp I would like have for it as far as like the simplicity and also like the amount of play you have to give it is total nuclear annihilation. It is a simple table that's teaching you a lot of things on the side. The ramps are hard to hit up there, of course. A very simple loop shot, like a very obvious, like this is what you do. You hit that loop and then you hit the right ramp with the flipper on the left. Um,
Yep.
it's
Not
got
easy to do.
not easy to do.
No, it's not.
But it also it teaches you how to like deal with a spinning ball. You literally like you're hitting the recognizer, I think it's called. Um,
Yep.
and that spins the ball up there. It's got that shield that comes down like Medieval Madness, but it's so far up there, right? It's at the very very back of the table that you will always have a chance to react to the spinning ball. Now, this has got to be impossible for Shannon. Like Shannon wears the eye patch and no depth perception. I don't understand how someone could possibly like play this table effectively if you can't see the spin of the ball. But if you're just kicking it up there and reacting to it and learning the different ways to react to the spin, to nudge the table, to not lose the ball when it shoots down, not just down, but spinning downward so it's curving as well, or it might be curving into the center and looking like you're going to save it and then you're not going to save it. There's a lot of things that this table teaches you that I find make me a much, much better pinball player. And to back up my love of this table, this is actually Colin McAlpine's favorite table. He told me that.
Oh.
I could see that.
It's the one. It's the one that he began playing before he became a kind of a pro. And so the first tournament that he ever played, I don't know if he shared this with you, Chris, was actually on this machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
I
doesn't
think I've
surprise
heard
me.
that story.
And I can definitely see where this table will teach you the second level, techniques that you're going to need to be a champion pinball player. Again, you're dealing with situations that are frequently presented to a pinball player, a spinning ball doing some weird things, but because all of it is at the back of the table, you don't you get a chance to react to everything, every bit of nonsense that the game intentionally throws at you. You at least have the time where the ball is traveling from the back of the table to the bottom, to react and to learn all the techniques you're going to do. Even if they're cruel, like even if it's a cruel twist where the ball is spinning and you just know that if you let it hit the sling on the top of the sling, it's not going to fire and it's just going to bounce harmlessly. And then no, wait, it was spinning the other way and it went straight into the out lane. Like you get a chance to deal with all of that nonsense, from a very fair angle.
Yeah, the other thing that you get to apply in this game is when you're in that multi-ball, being able to watch 15 balls at one time and knowing when that a ball's coming down that upper left and you got to shoot that left lane up into that right ramp during the multi-ball. That's something that's hard to figure out, but it's something you have to do in that game, is to be able to see all of the table and see all the things going on at once.
That's a good point. I actually really like games like that. That because I think just in general, unless you just have just incredible ball control skills and you know exactly what you want to hit and you can control multi balls like a wizard and all this stuff. When you get multi-ball, it tends to be kind of a free-for-all for a lot of people, and you just like, sweet, got multi-ball, I basically have, 10 seconds of immunity, basically. I can just flip, flip, flip. I like games like this, and I used to have a getaway, and we just got a whirlwind recently, and it's the same way where you get the multi-ball, but you can't just, you can't just stop thinking because you have to be, have chameleon eyes and be, keeping focus on the flipper, but also you have to, if the ball's in the right spot on that upper flipper, you got to time it right. You got to make sure you're not about to lose, the rest of your multi-ball in the process. That's kind of the beauty of pinball for me is the incredible amount of multitasking and sort of divided focus that it requires to be, I guess an effective pinball player. Another thing I like about this game that I just like in general about in my pinball machines is a simple um, but difficult at the same time. Because you look at this, you look at the layout of this table, and there's not a whole lot going on. You've got some targets on the left, you got a little scoop on the right, a ramp, an upper flipper, and a ramp up there, and then some bash targets in the middle, and that's kind of it. There's no like crazy, super loop shot and crazy toys or anything. It's pretty simple, but the game itself requires a pretty decent knowledge of what you need to be shooting because you're not going to you'll have a hard time just flipping around and getting points on this game, especially because it's kind of a low scoring game. I'm always surprised at how many hits it takes to activate that disc multi-ball, especially given how risky it is. Because you think of like Attack from Mars as my biggest comp because it's got 3 drop targets in the middle, and Attack from Mars, obviously, the further you get, the harder and more shots you need to drop it down, etc. But even the first time to start disc multi-ball, you've got to hit that target a few times, and then you've got to hit the disc a few times, and the disc is flinging it back at you while it's curving. You get a curveball to deal with. So I do appreciate that. It's a popular game, and so there's usually like somebody on it or somebody behind me waiting to play it. So I don't play it too much when I'm at Arlington, but I always make a point to play it because it wrecks me in tournaments every time.
We can see
Yeah,
how. Oh, go ahead, David.
yeah. A lot of times you'll step up to a machine if you're playing it in a tournament and you're not used to it. You'll try and figure out, is there any shot that you can make with the backhand? Can you trap and make a
Yeah.
backhand shot? Not with this game.
No, not really. It's
Oh, yeah.
everything's so deep. You have to really you got to nail it.
I think you're in trouble if you try and backhand the left ramp. Like it's going
Yeah,
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
I think
can't.
it's literally impossible. Yeah, and
Um,
even if you do make the right ramp, and if you don't make it all the way, it's coming back at you, probably straight down the middle.
well, the right ramp being the one. Let's see, the one right here. It's coming
Hmm
off the left.
Did I say right or left ramp?
You said right ramp. Yeah, the right ramp's kind
Okay.
of coming
Okay,
off of
I
here,
meant
and
right. Sorry,
it's
I
gonna
mean left.
careen off as something. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, backhanding anything into the left ramp is if it's coming back, it's gonna be a very problematic. Um, so the game looks. I mean, we can see it. It looks great, but like the sound design again in theme with Tron. Is they crushed it. Daft Punk does the soundtrack. It sounds great in my opinion, and in many
I
people's
agree.
opinions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is David and Austin's jam particularly, but they
I,
definitely
I love the sound on it.
yeah. So
Yeah, I think that the sound integration with the modes is probably one of the best around, and they did it so that it didn't. To me, it doesn't sound repetitive,
mhm.
and so yeah, I mean, for that reason, I will walk up and play it almost every time we go to Arlington, just because I think it's cool. Yeah, I totally dig the Daft Punk tracks that are on it. So it does have some original cuts from the movies, I believe, but I know Daft Punk was definitely involved in some of the tunes.
One more time.
Oh, we have Daft
Not
Punk
not
joining
quite
us.
that song, but maybe you can
Yeah.
get a mod with that song in
No,
there. Yeah, it's
the modes and how everything's laid out too. If you look at it, I mean I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say that area you have of the playfield right there is actually it's very telling, right? Because you've got literally everything mapped out for you.
mhm.
The shots on the right, the shots on the left, the different modes. What you ultimately have to do to get to wizard mode to advance portal. I mean, granted, you need to know the rule sets in behind it and hit the glowy targets, right? But it's really, if you look at that, it's probably one of the best laid out pins to give you at least a map to where you need to go. Getting there is a different discussion.
Yes. Yeah, I really dig it. Like you can see Flynn and right next to Flynn and Jim and Clue and Zeus, like they line up directly to the pictures. So if you have a affinity for the IP you're gonna know, you can see all the 5 things you want there, and then you can match the shots. So this lit up shot right here is the chorus shot, and it just looks exactly the same. It's really simple, but I it tells you. It absolutely tells you. Um, everything's.
Great execution, I think, on that end of it.
Mhm. And the other thing I wanted to add about the sound is, Daft Punk provides the soundtrack, and that's great, and the integration's great. The bass is awesome as well. But I know they use the actors, at least recordings from the movie, and particularly they use Jeff Bridges voicing Flynn, and Michael Sheen doing Zeus. And you probably have heard libations for everyone from Michael Sheen a million times when you play this table. Like they do. That's probably the best part of the movie is their line performances in those things, and they've brought it over to the game. So it works really well. Like they have really high quality voice acting too.
Yeah, and that's nice, especially when you consider the to me the biggest offender is Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mm,
because it's not the original voice actors, and you probably don't even have to have seen the movie to know that.
mm,
And on top of that, it just never shuts up. It goes through entire scenes basically where these non Chris Evans, non Zoe Saldana or whoever voice actors are talking, and it's so not only distracting, but it's also it feels a little bit cheap, because they have the actual movie scene playing in the background. You have these people talking. You're like, who is this? Like, this is not uh what Star Lord, whatever his name is. This seems bizarre. So the fact that they went the extra step to put the actual clips in, and I don't know if they had to get a license or the rights for it or whatever, but that helps. Another thing I was noticing while I'm looking at this playfield layout is how boring it would look without the lights on the ramps. That adds so
Yeah,
much
mhm.
to the presentation of this playfield. it like that in my opinion is what really makes it pop. And also, I think the game would be pretty dark without it. It adds a lot because there's a lot going on sort of back there around the disc that you probably wouldn't be able to see without those ramp lights. So I think that was a really cool addition. I don't know if the Pro has that or not, but it looks
It's an
cool.
incredibly dark game without it. Yeah, without a doubt, it's an incredibly dark game without it. I agree with you. Yeah,
Is
and you look at some games and you're just like you can tell by the color selection on the table. You're like, oh, I'm gonna have to buy some lights for that. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
This is one of those games where you would definitely have to buy some lights if they didn't have that.
Yeah, the playfield itself is dark.
yeah.
Yeah,
So you haven't seen,
it's got a really dark color paint on it.
Yeah.
it's in line with the original movie too. You haven't seen the movie. I'm trying to bring up a picture from the movie right now. Not the
And it
not
is
Tron
themed.
Legacy.
It's themed on the 20. Yeah, it's themed a lot around the. You know, it's got elements from the original, but it was released in 2011. So the pinball was actually released as part of the 2010 movie release, but it's really got themes from the original movie. And if you look at what's on the playfield.
Yeah, and if well, and you know, like Tron Legacy borrows obviously the IP and a ton from the original Tron, but like the art on Tron, I put some of it up there now. Like this is the original movie I seen from it. It's filmed in black and white. Like the whole
Yep.
computer element was filmed 100% in black and white, and then they computer animated, and this is 1980, 81, like
The 80s.
early
Yeah.
computer animation where they can just do lines basically. And they animated all this stuff, and it is a simplistic look, much like you're talking about the ramps. It would look like nothing without it, but the glow and everything just pops. It's really artistic.
Yeah, it's a lot of personality. You know, like I said, I think that's the measure. Cover up the back glass. So can you tell what game it is?
Mhm.
I I think I probably would anyways, but those especially bring up sort of light cycle visions, and it gives the game a ton of personality that I think it would lose otherwise. And so, like I said, I don't know if the Pro has that or not, but even if it doesn't, that would be like a very worthwhile mod. I think is to add those lights.
I kudos to them for making anything computer animated in that era that can.
That's yeah. I mean that's incredible.
It,
I can't
it
imagine how
should it
painstaking
should
that would be.
it should look like garbage, to be honest with you.
Right.
Like every look at like first Pixar shorts, things like that. Like prototype animation from the era. It would be like a sphere, the end,
Yeah.
right? But they managed to make it pop in a way that can still resonate now and still inspire a table like this. David, did you have an affinity for the movie at all?
Um, I loved the movie
Mm-hmm.
because I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I cannot remember.
Did you see the later one in 2010 that was part of this,
No,
or did you just see the original?
the original.
The I I didn't mind the remake or reboot. It was not the best movie. I'm a sucker for a superhero movie, and it's just another superhero movie. To be honest with you, but it could have been better. They I guess they ran out of budget because they were redoing one person. There's a very very obvious character that's not well represented on this board. Brennan, do you have any idea who I'm referring to that you don't see?
No. Jeff,
Tron.
who is Tron? I know the
That's a good
original.
point. Who is Tron, and why is he not on this board?
I didn't realize Tron was a person. I guess.
Reasonable to not get that. Jeff Bridges is the main character in the original Tron movie, Flynn. He has a computer variant, like it's weird and complex, but like he has a version of himself in the grid world, there is a character. I forget what the Tron programmer's name, Bruce Boxleitner, what his character name is, but he is Tron in the computer world. He's the hero of the computer world, and yeah, he's not in there at all. Like, and he's barely in the movie at all, because they couldn't afford, or they ran over budget or something. So they didn't they used computer animation to make Jeff Bridges look young again, but they couldn't afford to like make Tron look young again. So Tron is almost completely absent from the movie, which is odd.
It's almost like, why do it? I guess I don't know.
It's just a misnomer. Like, even in the original Tron movie, you're going to be like confused as to why it's really named Tron, because Flynn and Jeff Bridges steal the show / own the show. Like, it's very much his movie.
Well, and that's what I think is funny, is that David and Austin seem to associate this game so much with the original movie and the franchise as a whole, whereas I sort of lump it in with the sort of movie titles. Like when I think of, for instance, Iron Man, Spider-Man,
Mm,
um, Batman. I don't not Batman 66 or whatever, but Batman Dark Knight. Like these are all, I think of them as like movie games.
mm. From the
But
same era,
specifically,
right?
yeah, specifically, I think of this one as the 2010 Tron movie game,
Mm.
and David and Austin seem to associate it much more with the original 82 or whatever release, which I think is funny. But again, I haven't seen either of them, so I don't know why I associate it with that. But there we are.
So,
And I haven't seen either either, so it is funny. Yeah, you're what you're saying.
Brendan, what are you going to be doing this weekend? You're going to
This
watch the
weekend, I have
original
hockey.
Tron.
I have hockey on Saturday, but I mean, other than that, let's see. I got Corona stuff going on, so that means nothing. So yeah.
You got to watch the original Tron.
Does it hold up? Is my question. Let me ask that very harsh question. Does it hold up, David? Don't waste my time now.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but
Yeah, see, you're scaring me.
I think it'll hold up.
Oh man.
What do you want it to hold up to? That's my question.
Is it an entertaining movie, or is it like this was entertaining in the early 1980s?
Uh,
Entertaining.
I don't think it's a very good movie, but I think it
It
has many very, very good qualities. Like the
it clearly
soundtrack.
does, right? Or it wouldn't have spawned this franchise.
Yeah. The soundtrack alone, and the artwork, the soundtrack and the artwork in combination, um, they might be worth the price of admission alone. Like, if you eliminated the dialogue and just played it in the background and has it as an extended music video, it's interesting. So I do think it's worth a watch, particularly when they're not in the real world. The real world scenes are laughable. The concept is idiotic. Um, yeah, all the real world scenes can go, but
You're selling it pretty hard there, Chris.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not. I want to be real, because he said don't waste my time, right? And it might not be the movie for
Sure.
him, but like,
Maybe.
if you
Maybe
just
not.
go check it out for, honestly, if you want to fast forward past it, like, and just get to the King Kong scenes, then that's the way to go. Like, because the music, the soundtrack is really good, and like, not Daft Punk, right? But Daft Punk was inspired and they loved it. It's really good. It's got like this orchestral, like almost like it's got chanting and stuff in it too. It's got electronic feel. They really did phenomenal stuff with the soundtrack of the original Tron movie as well, in addition to the art. So I if you're going to expect a cinematic masterpiece or even a good movie, I would say no, don't go watch it. If you don't mind watching something and appreciating, how the elements feel and how it, like, pops for a good 5 or 10 minute segments, and also has a lot of allusions to the arcade, then yes, absolutely. And in fact, that is, if you go to the Free Play Arcade community group, that's been our, I'll bring it up right here. That's been our top
Flynn's
image
Arcade.
forever. This right here is from Tron.
Yep.
So I always
Okay. I've looked at this picture on multiple occasions, and I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? Where did Chris get this picture? And what is everybody wearing?
Yes.
I have to add to this just to kind of point this out. I think you would be surprised how many people from that era, not myself, but other people from that era, have latched onto this concept of Flynn's Arcade. In this picture right here, I've been to, and I was tracking them for a while. I went to like 60 different arcades around the world over a period of about 2 years, just while I was traveling. And I can tell you that a vast majority of them have a Flynn's Arcade sign that is custom made for them, and or a scene from the movie around Flynn's Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it is staggering the number of them. So yeah, again, it doesn't speak to me, but I understand where it came from, and I've never seen the movie.
The thing about
This guy's got wicked pit sweat, by the way.
he sure does.
Yeah,
You're
Wicked
right.
Pet Sweat. Yeah,
Well, he just broke the world
he's playing
record.
a game, man. He's
Oh, okay,
Yeah, he's got the
fair enough.
headset.
Then.
He
All
just
right.
broke the world record on Space Paranoids, which he created, by the way.
Cool Walkman.
So he, yeah, it's Flynn's Arcade in the original Tron is the heightened version that somebody would want arcades from the 80s to be. You know, everybody's gathered around the game player who is really good and literally cheering. Like they're all like jumping up and down cheering. Everybody's young and attractive. It's in a loft apartment. Like it's a really cool building. Like everything about it is just 80s cool slash classic arcade in a fantasy way. Although it's going to be very familiar to you, as Austin said. Like it's inspired, modern day renaissance of retro arcades. That's the way that they're all built now.
And that person on the right is not me, even though it looks like it could be a younger version.
It's like Bill Gates is what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, they're all supposed to be computer programmers, and that's Bruce Boxleitner. I forget the name of his character. At least the name of that character. The other character he plays is Tron. So he is Tron.
I got a promise. If I finish with the highest score in this monthly tournament thing that we're going on Tron, I will watch this what sounds like terrible movie. So
let me ask you this, Brendan: Are you one to just sit home and just watch one movie after another, or kind of binge watch?
I don't think I've ever done that. I'll do that with TV shows, but I have a hard time doing that with movies for some reason.
I would.
You and I both. So my daughter used to give me the hardest time because I would fall asleep. I'm warning you. If you make it through this film, I'd be shocked. But I'm just.
I wouldn't even try. I wouldn't even try. I would just jump straight to the.
It's for science. And freedom.
I would take a look at zoom ahead to like the Flynn's arcade scene, the scene where they're playing in the arcade. Giggle at the 80s hair, right? Zip forward again till you get to the part where they're all in the Tron world, and just enjoy what it does best. And what it does best is definitely not the plot. So just enjoy the aesthetics for what it is, and maybe it'll inspire you to watch it all in retrospect. But like it's worth maybe 15 to 40 minutes of your time. But given how you watch movies, I wouldn't say go get it right now and hit play and sit down for 2 hours to watch it. But
none of that should destroy what you feel about the table. It's an awesome table.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I will have a report if and when I conquer the Tron Legacy limited edition table at Free Play Arlington.
Are you guys competing in the monthly? David's monthly?
I will be. I have not started yet. I have not started accumulating my scores yet, but I certainly will be. Arlington specifically, because I've been to Richardson since everything reopened to the extent that it has.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been to Arlington yet, and it's been literally probably pushing 5 or 6 months now since I've been up to Free Play Arlington. I'm due for the trek, so I imagine that's where I'll put the majority of my scores up. So yes, I will be submitting some scores here shortly, probably next weekend.
There is a lot of. Hold on a second.
they're starting to roll in. Lynn
Yeah.
threw up a game on ACDC earlier, so. And
Oh,
Richardson has like 30 scores that have been submitted, so
nice.
Oh, they are starting to roll in. Good. Not just me.
not just you. No.
Good, good. I was worried. I've got scores. I've been to Fort Worth and Richardson um and Arlington. I haven't played in Denton, even though I've been there. I'll give it a whirl on Saturday when I'm out there. But I'm gonna try and like play a game on every one of the 20 tables, which is not required. You do 5 tables in one venue. But I'm gonna post a link in the chat that has your the match play that you go to compete. And thank you, David, for setting this up. It's been a lot of fun, and like I get to play pinball. It feels like my only chance.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, it's sometimes I'm looking at the scores on my phone and I'll have to take a snapshot and zoom in and all that stuff to make sure it's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But look, it's not taking any time to approve scores.
Better than nothing, for sure.
Yeah, you can follow that link for the match play event, where you can enter in each and every one of the locations. It's all on different pinball tables, and it's just been so much fun. Even as they are, like it's so these days, like I am not taking for granted any moment at the arcade in the arcade.
Yeah, I'm the part of me wants to go after this call, go up to Denton, and then do something
You would
tomorrow.
not be wasting your time. Yeah,
Denton feels a little bit different, at least in my head, compared to Richardson, Fort Worth, Arlington. Denton hanging in there? I haven't been there in a while since I moved from Denton.
this world ends hourly. I give you no guarantees.
Man,
Like if you say something is going to happen, then the entire world collapses around what you just said.
pretty much.
So there are no guarantees. I know I appreciate each and every time I go up to free play. I had some time between streams because I streamed Mike B News early this morning, or not early this morning, right at noon. Got off the air at like 2. Had a few hours till this show, so I rolled right up to Free Play Richardson and played Tales from the Crypt Pinball, which is playing quite well right now. And yeah, just enjoying every single day that I can, because like I said, there are no guarantees.
Without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
We just got the different tales. So those of us that have kids, we got the notice. So my kids are in like a Spanish program, and they basically said, yeah, if your kids are in the Spanish program and you want them to stay in the Spanish program, they got to come to school. None of this online learning for them. We're like, okay, that's what we're doing in the fall. No online. They have to go in. No options. Okay.
We shall see. I don't think anything is guaranteed in any circumstances these days. All plans seem destined to be blown up. How is everybody doing personally right now? Austin, are you still basically unchanged in your job because you can do most stuff remotely?
Yeah, absolutely unchanged in my job, and I haven't been impacted by the school situation with my daughter either.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that she finished her master's about 7 years ago, so I'm unfazed, except for the fact that we did have some vacation scheduled, and we were going to go out of town, and we decided to cancel it because we just don't think we will. One, want to expose ourselves potentially, and two, really enjoy ourselves because of all the concern and everything. So it's definitely impacted me personally, just not work related. Just how I would put it.
David, how about you? Are things any
Yeah, I
semblance of
mean,
normal?
I needed to take a vacation. We rented a beach house down in Galveston. It was really bizarre to drive down Seawall Boulevard in Galveston when they had the beach closed 4th of July weekend. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, The beach was closed. No parking on the seawall. You could go for a walk between 6 and 9 on the beach. But
Mhm.
after that, if you were walking on the beach, the lifeguards would come by every 30 minutes and say, "Yeah, the beach is closed. You're not allowed to be here. If I see you again, we'll have to ticket you." It was just really, really bizarre. But we were out there social distancing out in the water, and we just got back. I just got back
Yeah.
like about an hour ago.
How about you, Brennan?
I mean, I'm lucky because I work in the returns department of my company. And as you might imagine, there's a lot of returns right now because we sell sporting goods and jerseys and bleachers and et cetera, et cetera. And so, with all these seasons being canceled, people have got a lot of crap to return. So I've been keeping busy, but um, yeah, we're taking a vacation here at the end of the month too. We're also going down to Galveston, which seems like everybody around here is, and that makes complete sense.
I could
Um, so
I could use a vacation. However, I don't know. It's not in the cards for me. I gotta move, and then the world's gonna end like 17 more times before then. So like, but in theory, I could use a vacation. I don't know
yeah, I
where to
agree.
go. I don't know where to go. Like you said, the beaches are closed, so I don't really want to go to Galveston. So if I can't go somewhere on vacation, now right now I'm enjoying free play being open. I'm going out to the arcade, and it feels like a vacation when I'm just in the arcade and I'm not running an event or something else like that. Like when I touch a pinball machine, it does feel special in a way that it did not feel special, even though it did feel special, 6 months ago. It
Sure.
feels like I'm touching this machine. Please don't let it be the
Privilege.
last time, right?
Yeah.
I know Austin, you've been kind enough to like invite me over, but even like that, like just going over to your house, I feel conscious about. Like I don't want to expose my friend Austin and Tracy to anything. So right now it's just I don't even go that far, right? Um, I hope I get to play your Alice Cooper sometime in the future, whenever. But even now, like it's just it weighs on my mind, and I don't want to I don't want to inconvenience my friends, the people I care about, or put them in danger. So
Yeah, I totally understand. Yeah, where you're coming from. That sentiment, and the machine's not going anywhere. I would also say this, right? We're not, you know, people who are scared to go out anywhere. We've traveled a lot. I have to travel a lot for work, and I'm not traveling right now. But I
sorry, what was
telling
that?
you, I decided to share this, right? We shoot fireworks a lot at our house because it's allowed.
Hmm.
So, kind of a last minute thing, I decided to go to the store. I'll share this. This is one of those things that, I mean, not to sound negative, it's really just to stay positive, right? I think we should all be cautious and cautiously optimistic about kind of where we are with everything. But I went to the fireworks stand again. Wasn't really planned out. Tracy and I were like, yeah, let's go buy some fireworks. Went by myself. There were about 100 people there, between inside and outside, and not only at the county level the week prior, but also at the state level prior to the 4th. It was required that if you're out and about, you got to wear a mask. I was the only person in that store that had a mask on. So that's very telling about how, if you ever think you're being too cautious and you think you're this or that. I mean, it was to the point that I was just like, I'm not sure if I'm going in here. It was at that level, right? So, yeah, you kind of wonder where people's minds are, with the data that's present. So, yeah, I
It's
think
Yeah.
you're all telling me you're being responsible. You're kind of limiting yourself to a degree, but you're being responsible, and that's the reason why we cancel our trip too. We just don't want to risk it. It's not worth
yeah. I'm comfortable with taking risks to myself to a degree, and I'm comfortable with taking risks on behalf of my friends to a lesser degree. Like I don't want to choose whether my friend Austin gets exposed to anything. Like I take my risks, but I don't take your risks. So I'm really hesitant to do that. That's I've had different experiences in different areas. I will say, like, if masks help, like for me, my priority is saving the arcades, and if numbers keep going the way that they are, arcades will not be saved, and that's it. Like, you're not gonna get it back. Um, so if this can help, I mean, frankly, I don't care. Like, if it, I'll do more to save arcades. Do you want me to get a tattoo right here? That's fine. If you tell me it saves the arcade, then I'll do it. Like, it's not. I'm willing to make a sacrifice for society, and if that's the one it is, then so be it. Goodness gracious, I don't care. It's a mask.
Yeah, it should just be like, what is your arcade? Is your arcade football? Are you really into football? Do you want football this fall? Wear your freaking mask. You
Yeah.
know, what is it? What are you passionate about? Because whatever it is, there's a pretty good chance that we can't do it if things keep going the way they're going. And you
Hmm.
know what really helps with that? Wearing your mask. So whatever that is, put that in your head. Okay, I hate this mask. I think I look stupid. You know, I look like a sissy, whatever. But I'm gonna wear it because I want to watch
My
college
glasses
football or
fog
whatever.
up.
Yeah, whatever. Just put it on. Like, just put it on. It's just really not that big of a deal. Please just put it
I
on.
like my free play mask anyway. It makes me look like a
I
ninja.
know.
It looks like a ninja.
I don't think people look dumb with masks on. I don't know where that came from, but I think you look kind of cool with a mask on. How's that grab you?
Mm. Depends on if you wear it like it's meant to be weared, or
Sure.
here.
What you
I'll go grab you vamp, and I'm gonna grab my mask and show you how it looks cool and
Sure.
not cool.
Yeah, I mean, while he's going to grab that mask, I mean, to the point that Chris is making, right? And there's an arcade club over in the UK. They've actually got a couple different locations. Really cool people. A lot like free play in terms of how it's managed and how they run it. They're not allowed to open until July 30th. So just imagine, if we were talking about this in this situation, I mean, we should be thankful that we've had it open this long and are able to go at all. So.
correct way?
Got to wear your mask and keep the arcade open.
I need to get me one of those free play masks.
Here we go. This I look like
I got
a
some on
ninja.
order.
I look like a ninja. This is cool. I like this. If you would have told me as a 7-year-old you can wear this mask in public, I would be like, heck
Hype.
yes. I'm gonna
Is that
wear it to
Scorpion?
school. And
Wow.
yes. Awesome. This looks cool. Also, you can hear me right now. My voice very minimally affected by this mask. This is
If at
not
all.
like a medical grade mask. This is what they're recommending for everybody to wear to sort of like prevent you from coughing and spreading it that way, right? I'm protecting you wearing this mask. I am not necessarily protecting me wearing this mask. However, that's the kind of protection that we want at Free Play. That's the logo. This is a cool mask. If you wear it like this, you look like a dumbass. Look at that. Now I can't speak. Now it's uncomfortable. And this is really stupid. So it
Yeah, you
makes
look like a bird. Like, what is that? Nobody wants to look like a bird. Or have neck beard,
yeah,
which I'm afflicted with.
it's really uncomfortable to wear it in the ways in which it's not meant to be worn. But you saw it on my face. It's super comfortable when you're just wearing it as intended. I like those masks quite a bit, and I look forward to the day when we don't have to wear them.
So I'll hawk the masks for a second because I still do not have mine. Are we in stock now? Is this at every location? Some locations?
Out of stock of this type of mask until I believe maybe a soon. Soon they're getting an order because they got an order of misprints.
That's what I heard.
Right, and those are in stock now and for free if you just mentioned that you heard me say it. Right? Just go ask for the free mask. If you know enough to know that there are free masks, it's free to you. So, yeah, you can get it at every location. I don't think they're out. They got a full order, but they were misprinted. So, like, it says free play here as opposed to over here.
I
And
almost
that's it.
want the misprinted one just to be different.
I got a
For the
misprint
collectible
one.
value.
Yeah, I got the limited edition misprint. Like, it's
Yeah.
gonna be worth millions someday. So
Yeah,
easy
it's going to
decision.
be worth 10,000
Yeah.
instead of 6,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
easily.
But whenever these type get back in that are not misprinted, they're only $4, so it's not that big of a deal.
I'm glad we got past that point of the pandemic where everybody was like, okay, you need to be wearing masks, and also like that sold out everywhere. I'm glad we at least got through that hump.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for impromptu mask talk. And I appreciate that I've seen everybody out here. Every one of the free pinballers, you guys have all been out to free play. I really appreciate it. Like masks, whether they're annoying or not, like you've all done your part. You've all been out there. I really I can't say thank you enough.
I mean, it's literally my pleasure.
Mm-hmm. It's the way it's supposed to be.
Play pinball.
What do we got next, Chris?
We have the live matching game in 12 minutes, so I should probably go into producer mode and start dealing with things there. It sounds like we have a open contestant slot. I'm looking in the chat. If you're watching now and you're interested in being a contestant at the live matching game, which starts in about 12 minutes, it is voice only, and we can get you set up in a hurry.
I did a couple weeks ago.
Chris?
It's fun.
I know, yes.
If you're watching, you should do it.
Yeah, we were about to say, like, if any of the other pinballers would like to stay and play. Danny was looking for one more.
Brennan's already done it.
Okay.
Austin, David, are you guys interested?
I'll pass.
Yeah, David was going to go to Free Play Denton.
Well, I'll probably.
Yeah, and I appreciate the invite, but I need to prepare dinner.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. I think we're good ending it there as far as like the pinballers and let you guys loose to play around.